What's up, Men's Physique fans, and welcome back to another video. The Men's Physique season continues to heat up. We have a lot to talk about. We're gonna break down the results of the Charlotte Pro and the Nordeste Pro. Who showed up, who got snubbed, and introducing your two newest qualified Olympians. Jeremy Potvin undergoes surgery that puts his competitive future at question, and Chris Bumstead continues to troll the men's physique division. Yeah, it's safe to say we have a lot to catch up on. But before we get there, I did want to remind you guys that I am now taking on one-on-one coaching clients. So if you are looking for a coach who prioritizes communication, somebody who's going to get their check-ins back to you in a timely manner, somebody who prioritizes an individualized, customized plan. This is no cookie cutter bullshit. And of course, if you're looking for somebody to help maximize your fullest potential, whether it's through PEDs or simply learning your body in order to know what lever to pull at the right time, all you guys have to do is click the link in my bio and I will reach out to you shortly. So now, cue the intro.
Grapevine, but I ain't hearing nothing great. No, they wanna take it all from me, so I give what it takes. Whole life been a miracle, seen everything but a cape. Why would I stop now? Found everything on a journey, but another way. Look.
There were two pro shows that took place this past weekend, one here in the States and another international. But let's quickly go overseas at the Nordestine Pro, where we are welcoming your first and newest qualified Brazilian Olympian in Vitor Chavez. Vitor showed up and showed out and looked absolutely amazing. But before we get there, I do want to give the flowers to those who placed just behind Vitor. Guys who showed up and gave him a run for his money. Starting off with your third place finisher in Malison Arroyo, a guy seemingly coming into that show as an unknown character, but leaving with a lot of hype around his name because of the package that he brought standing next to two Olympians. The first thing that stands out to me when I look at his physique is the detail and separation that he has in his midsection. And we all know the league is putting a massive emphasis on having an aesthetic core. And not to mention, his conditioning was next level. When you match detail with next level conditioning, it truly gives that pop that you see people like Ali Bilal have on stage. But now, when I take a further step back, you can still see that there's flaws in his physique that he does need to continue to double down on in order to truly maximize his potential. He is wide up top, so he does need to fill in the surface space that he has from shoulder to shoulder. And he can also add a lot of depth through his back. I think that's really what lost him the show comparative to your first place finisher in Vitor Chavez. But nonetheless, there's a lot of nuts and bolts that simply need tighten in this physique. And once he does maximize his fullest potential, put on the quality muscle that he needs in order to stand out on stage next to Olympians, this man is going to be one himself. He looked absolutely amazing. Congratulations on a third place finish. And coming in at second place, we have who I believe is one of the most underrated men's physique athletes in the current day and age of men's physique. A guy who has an elite front shot. A guy who, unfortunately, his strength just happens to be his weakness. Coming in at second place, we have Guilherme Roberto, a guy who shows up and showed out, a former Olympian and a guy who is vying to get back to that Olympia stage. And I said it, his front shot is so damn good, it forces him to stand out against himself. It highlights something that he doesn't have, which is a back. And that's the one thing that you can see looking at these photos comparative to Vitor Chavez, was just the difference in the back. If you ask me, I personally believe Guilherme actually won the front shot. I mean, it's very two different physiques. You can tell he's taller. He has longer limbs, but he also fills out those limbs, which really allowed him to stand out on stage. He has a full chest, and again, aesthetic midsection. And then on top of that, great conditioning. I think he has a great taper, great structure. The only thing he needs to continue to do is double down and just improve that back. Because for some odd reason, his back actually looked worse today than it actually did in his previous showings. But nonetheless, coming in at a very impressive second place finish next to another top Olympian is Guilherme Roberto. And by no surprise, we have your newest qualified Olympian in Vitor Chavez, the winner of the Nordeste Pro. And another very solid showing for Vitor. Vitor is extremely consistent. I've been competing against Vitor for years, and I've had the opportunity to just see him getting better and better and better and better every single year, every single show. He is seemingly moving up in the ranks, even though slowly, consistently. And because of that, he's putting in a lot of time in order to separate himself from the previous versions of himself to the current version. So we can expect him to get better damn near every single show. You know, Vitor has one of those physiques that if he nails his peak, keeps his midsection tight, keeps any protrusion, from happening, he's going to stand out. Because he has the core, he has crazy lats from the front that just swoop around his physique. And again, he's been improving his back. And that's one thing the judges can clearly see that he's been doing over the last couple of years. After a 7th place finish at the Olympia, he qualifies early and now has the opportunity to either shut it down or simply focus on improving his weaknesses going into the Olympia. Now, We also know that he is committed to doing the Pittsburgh Pro. And that show is without a doubt a win-win situation for him, because the people who are in front of him are our second place finisher at the Olympia, our third place finisher at the Olympia, and our fifth place finisher at the Olympia. So if he can jump any of them, he gains even more momentum now going in to the Olympia. But nonetheless, we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. Congratulations to Vitor Chavez. The one moment that really stood out to me seeing Vitor celebrate his win was seeing his kids on stage. And that's what really took me back, man. You know, me as being a family man, seeing that moment is a moment that I've always envisioned. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Vitor. It was really cool seeing that. And again, congratulations, brother. And I will see you at the Olympia. All right, guys, so let's take a quick flight over from Brazil into Charlotte, because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Charlotte Pro. There was a lot of hype and excitement going into this one. Why? Because we have a legend who is making his return. And then we had a guy who was seemingly slowly moving up the ranks and now is sitting one spot away from an Olympia qualification. And of course, you're a winner in Chris Barr, a guy who just qualified for the first time last year by winning a pro show. And now he does it in one shot. Oh yeah. So let's quickly break down your top 5, starting off with the complete shock of the show in Andre Ferguson. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a quick minute, but Andre just seemingly wasn't his best self. We all know and love Andre from his previous top versions of himself. And I think a lot of times what we're doing is comparing Andre to Andre and hoping that Andre can bring back the version of himself that got second place at the Olympia, that won 3 Arnold Classics, but nonetheless, he just wasn't on at this particular show. Now, this was his first show of the season, and who knows, Andre could be one of those persons who get better and better with each show, but nonetheless, he just physique-wise wasn't on 100%. The main thing that I noticed within his physique that it just almost looked tired, which was obviously weird because it was his first show, and not to mention, we've heard throughout this prep that this was that prep that he was really focusing on in order just to kind of prove everybody wrong. And as a guy who likes to cover this sport with as much accuracy as possible, the reality is, if I'm not there at the show, and especially with this show specifically, not having a live stream, it was very hard to give, that kind of unbiased, I guess, opinion/feedback, without at least, making assumptions, I guess you could say. But instead, I wanted to reach out to multiple different sources who were at the show. And one of those sources was an athlete who actually reached out to me because he wanted to give me as much information as physically possible for this video. Now, he simply said this: Andre, he was soft. He wasn't the Andre that we all know and love. And I think that's the problem. Because I think a lot of people know Andre for that 2019 Arnold look that he brought, or, just the previous 18 wins and just being absolutely dominant when he steps to the stage. And now we're comparing that to, the 40-plus-year-old version of Andre, where, let's be real, we've all seen time never lose. And that's what we're currently seeing here. Now, from the footage that I've actually seen and deeper conversations that I've had as well, I think that sentiment is 100% accurate. He was just soft. He didn't have that pop to his physique that he typically has. He has a good back, better yet, a great back. But on that day, he had a decent back. He typically has crazy good conditioning. On this day, he had average conditioning. And the fullness, that's the one thing that I've noticed mainly through the chest that just wasn't there, here at the Charlotte Pro. Now, let's be 100% real as well. This is his first show back after a long time, right? So let's give him some grace. If he does plan to continue to run the gauntlet, which he did say that he was going to do, then we can only expect him to build from this look. Now, this was also Andre's first Masters show, and he did have a goal of qualifying for the Masters Olympia, winning the Masters Olympia, and who knows, maybe hanging it up after that. I'm not going to sit here and speculate, but that plan didn't go according to plan, because he actually placed second in the Masters category, again, behind Kyler. And Kyler looked great, but with Kyler just coming on the scene and maybe he does the Masters, it's not going to be an easy route for Andre to win a Masters Olympia, let alone win 20 wins. Now, as a fan of Andre and somebody who has learned a lot from him throughout my career, the one thing that he has taught me is riding the midline. That means never get my highs too high and never let my lows get too low. Make sure you ride that midline. And I know that's what he's going to be doing right now. I know it stings, but I also know it motivates him. But nonetheless, Andre Ferguson placed 5th place at the Charlotte Pro. And I can promise you this, he's more motivated than ever. And he's coming. And coming in at 4th place, we have Kyler Crawford. And the most impressive part about his showing is not only did he place 4th place at the Open after years of not stepping on stage, but he also goes on to win the Masters category against who? the legend in Andre Ferguson. Now, we'll get there, but I do want to give Kyler a massive shout out because I can only imagine, having not stepped on stage for years, to come back with the excitement, with how much men's physique has changed, and deliver on one hell of a package. He was round, full, bubbly, conditioned to the gills. He does need to continue to work on that back department. And the one thing that I really noticed about him, and you can kind of tell that this was simply from not stepping on stage in a long time, was the general discomfort that he had on stage. You could tell that he was tight. He just didn't have a lot of flow to his physique. But again, that's experience, right? And he's going to get that experience back after he continues to compete, especially having a coach like Cuts. But nonetheless, in a very impressive showing. And also, congratulations on the win in the Masters category. And I want you guys to stop me if you've ever heard this one before. But coming in at third place, once again, we have Travis Yao. Now, we just spoke about Travis in the last video, and it's very similar to what we're going to say here. Travis came in condition. He had a great back, as always, and he really just has a very clean, aesthetic look for men's physique. But what he does need to continue to work on is adding more width through the back, but more importantly, a little bit more density through the shoulders to shoulder range. Again, more talking about his upper chest. And once he does that, he's going to be somebody that nobody wants to stand next to. Now, do I think Travis can qualify for the Olympia? Absolutely. But I do think he has to be very strategic about the shows that he selects, because there's certain physiques that stand next to Travis that kind of expose Travis for what he doesn't have, even though he does have a lot. But all I do know is that he had the best shorts on that stage. And you want you guys to take a look at this lineup and tell me that he didn't. But nonetheless, he looked absolutely amazing. Travis Yao, another third place finish, another top 5 finish. And again, he's just seemingly being able to be extremely consistent and get him to these points where he's this close to an Olympia qualification. And coming in at second place after a very impressive fourth place finish just 1 week ago at the Tri-City Classic, we have Jaquez Lewis. Now, we actually talked about Jaquez on the Men's Physique Radio podcast, where we highlighted his physique and how unique it is. Jaquez stands over 6 feet tall, and he has a lot of density to fill in that massive frame. And because he was able to fine tune and get a little bit better in a short amount of time, he not only managed to jump 2 placings, but he also beat a guy who beat him just 1 week ago in Travis Yao. So now Jaquez has arrived. He can smell that Olympia qualification. I can promise you this, as a guy who's placed second multiple times at pro shows, it will only make you hungrier. So I'm excited to see what Jaquez continues to do as he goes on from show to show, aiming to get that Olympia qualification. Now, like we talked about, Jaquez is a big guy, but he also has a great structure, right? His shoulder to waist ratio is great, but if he can continue to add that density through the back to match that density in the front, good luck. Because nobody's going to want to stand next to a 6'2" freak who's extremely balanced from back to front with good posing and great conditioning. So again, Jaquez, congratulations, brother. You're so close. Keep it going. And your newest 2025 Olympia qualified athlete is none other than Chris Barr. Now going back to the Olympia 2 times with a very impressive win and a dominant win here in Charlotte. Now, when I take a look at Chris's physique, we all know him for the round and bubbliness that he has. But what really stood out to me comparative to everybody else was his structure, his shoulder to waist ratio. We all talk about men's physique having a look. And this is that look, right? Chris's outline, his silhouette is absolutely beautiful. But then you top that with next level conditioning. You top that with balance from front to back and the density that he has and the density that he brought to the stage. It was just very hard to stand next to him. And this was his day. This was his show, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. When I give these reviews, when I give my breakdowns, I always try to be as unbiased as possible. But going into the show, if I was just going off of who I like as a person the most, it's without a doubt Chris. Chris is just a good guy. He's a good representative for the sport. He does things the right way. He locks in and he holds himself to a very high standard. Not only in just bodybuilding, but his supplement company, the way that he goes about his day-to-day business. I can tell it from a distance, and even though he has an insane physique, he has an even higher character. But nonetheless, your Charlotte Pro champion, your 2025 newest qualified Olympian, and Chris Barr. Jeremy Poppin has been going through a lot lately. Do you guys remember back in 2024 when he went bowling and ended up tearing his bicep, which put him out for the entire competitive season? And it was tough timing because just the year before he ended up winning a pro show and placing 10th place at the Olympia. And then on March 26, 2025, Jeremy shared even heavier news. He was diagnosed with stage 1 kidney cancer. He explained that the doctors did discover it early, which gives him a great shot at recovery, but his competitive future is at jeopardy. Jeremy has since undergone surgery to remove the tumor and has already begun the early stages of recovery. And true to form, he seems optimistic. He's keeping his head held high, and whether it's on stage or in life, he's proving that true strength isn't just about muscle. It's about mindset. Chris Bumstead stirred up some controversy in the bodybuilding world by poking a little bit of fun at the men's physique division this past week. In a video posted on Instagram, Cbum swapped out his signature posing trunks for men's physique board shorts and started to hit some poses. The kicker, well, that was the caption. Maybe all along the comeback was really going to be in men's physique, he says. And fans, well, they were quick to react, with some taking it as a harmless joke and others actually analyzing the likelihood of this comeback. But you know what? For the hell of it, let's break it down. Could Chris Bumstead actually one day compete in men's physique? From a competitive standpoint, it's highly unlikely. Men's physique and classic physique are built around two completely different aesthetics. Classic emphasizes symmetry, proportion, and muscularity with poses that show off the entire physique, legs included. Meanwhile, men's physique is more focused towards a lean beach body look with an emphasis on the upper body, especially shoulders, chest, and abs. The board shorts literally cover the legs, which are the complete opposite of what Cbum is known for. His classic lines, his vacuum posing, and yes, those insane quads. Beyond that, Bumstead has dominated classic physique for years, and he's built a legacy there. Moving to men's physique wouldn't just be a step sideways, it would be a massive shift in identity. It's like if Michael Jordan went from playing in the NBA to playing in golf. Is it possible? Yeah, technically. But is it smart? Now that's debatable. So while it was a funny post and definitely a clever troll, the likelihood of Cbum actually trading in his posing trunks for men's physique board shorts are slim to none. But hey, if he were serious, Manifest Competition wear would be the perfect fit for Chris's return. I mean, just think about it. The shorts, they're form-fitted, which would highlight his leg development. The waistline isn't thick, which allows for a more exaggerated taper, and the designs and materials would have him standing out more than he already would on stage. So if he wanted to maximize his look, I would highly, highly recommend him to check out Manifest Competition wear. The link, that's in the bio.
I got my name in stone.